Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign and our online services. Our mission is to build community, seek inspiration, promote justice, and find peace. I am Reverend Florence Caplow, the minister of this congregation, coming to you from my living room, with the help of so many others, including our local community radio station, WRFU, at 104.5 FM. If you'd like to follow along with our service, with our written order of service, you can find it right below the video on our live stream page. And also, if you like to participate by chat, or with chat during the service, you can go on over to our YouTube channel, UUCUC channel on YouTube, and participate in that way. Our theme for this fall is transformation and love. I don't have to tell you that we are in a time of profound disruption, which is also a time of transformation. And we know from our Universalist heritage the great significance, the essential nature of love, particularly in times of transformation. I believe these two must go hand in hand. I want you to know that in these times, we can be here for each other as each of us navigates our lives. We are here for you. I am here for you. And each of us needs to find ways, many ways, if possible, to renew our spirits, or we will become tired and discouraged. This morning, I want to share with you one way that I renew my spirit by going to the forest, to natural landscapes. This morning, the sermon will be given by the Sangamon River Forest Preserve, a beautiful place about a half hour away from Champaign-Urbana. I've had many people say that for them, their church is in the woods. Well, we thought we would bring the woods to the church today, the woods and the prairie and the river. But first, each Sunday, and this Sunday it feels all the more appropriate, we offer a land acknowledgement of the indigenous nations of this land. Wherever you are listening, please bring to mind the indigenous peoples of your place, and there will be a moment of silence after the acknowledgement. We recognize and acknowledge that we are on indigenous land, taken through deception, coercion, and violence. We acknowledge the continued displacement and oppression of Native people and honor their commitments to survival, identity, and the protection of our world. Thank you. I am happy to welcome Matt Gladden back to our Sunday services after his summer off. Please enjoy this prelude by Eric Satie, Gymnopediae number 1. Each Sunday, we light a flaming chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. I invite you to listen or join me for these words from our hymn, For the Beauty of the Earth, as I light a chalice. And if you have a chalice at home, or just a candle even, you can light as well and join along with me. For the beauty of the earth, for the beauty of the skies, for the love from let's try this again. For the love which from our birth over and around us lies. There we go. And here is the chalice lit for the time of our sacred time together. About once every 3 months or so, we welcome new members to UUCUC. And Sherry Bolin, our Director of Congregational Engagement, has the pleasure each time of introducing them to you. This is Sherry's last Sunday with us. So she also has a few words of appreciation and farewell, although not farewell forever, that she'd like to offer to you. If you'd like to read the bios of the new members as well as hearing them, you can find them on a link to them on our live stream page with the order of service. I am so happy to be welcoming 4 new members to UUCUC who are bravely joining us even in this time of online church. As I say to all new members, you are now no longer a guest of this congregation. You are now part of the body of this more than 150-year-old liberal religious community, bringing your gifts and your spirit to us as we offer community and inspiration to each other together.
Just because we can't be in our church building right now doesn't mean that we're not still growing. Join me now in welcoming our 4 newest members. Alicia is a Floridian who moved to Illinois last year in order for her partner to pursue his art degree. Alicia's a mental health counselor, and she became a UU first about 6 years ago. She enjoys gathering with family and friends. She enjoys rock music, baking, and she has an affinity for afternoon tea. Sarah is a 7th grade science teacher. She lives with her 2 dogs and enjoys practicing Spanish. Ursula tries to maintain a Lemony Snicket-style aura of mystery. Nevertheless, she enjoys gardening, being outside, underground, spoiling her cats, social justice, and educational equity. She also dabbles in molecular biology and installation art, though rarely at the same time. She is happy to join such a kind, welcoming congregation that approaches spirituality through community service. Kay Smith is a pharmacist who lives in New Mexico. She loves being outdoors, hiking, gardening, relaxing, and traveling. She wants to be a part of an effort to create outdoor healing spaces and to work to protect our environment. Welcome, new members. We're so happy that you've joined us, and we look forward to getting to know you all and helping you to make meaningful connections within our church community.
I love welcoming new members. Over the 4+ years that I've been on staff here at UUCUC, I've welcomed in many new members, and each one of you has been very special to me. This group, however, will be especially memorable because it will be the last group of people that I will welcome into membership. That's because today is the last Sunday that I'll be with you as your Director of Congregational Engagement. Next week, I begin a whole new life journey. I begin clinical pastoral education training at Carl Broman Medical Center in Bloomington, Illinois. Clinical pastoral education training is a vital part of my next life goal to become a hospice chaplain. So I leave my job with some sadness, but with great gratitude. Gratitude to the church for giving me the wonderful opportunity to grow and to learn. Special gratitude to Reverend Florence for her kindness, her encouragement, and her support. Special gratitude to the wonderful staff with which I got to work. Gratitude for the board and leadership. It's been a wonderful experience. Now, some people have said to me, aren't you ready to retire? But no. I look around out there in the world and I see all kinds of things I still want to do. I want to do that and that and that. And so I'm just going to keep doing until I can't do anymore. So even though I'm leaving my position at UUCUC, I'm not really leaving UUCUC. Once I spend a few months focusing on my chaplain internship, I'll come back, I'll be back, but I will come back as a fellow member. So I hope when I do that, you'll welcome me back. I look forward to working with you on wonderful new projects as we go forward. So I close with blessings that you all remain healthy and hopeful until we meet again.
I just want to thank Sherry Bolin from the bottom of my heart, truly, for her dedication and great spirit of welcoming and community. For the last 4.5 years with us, she has welcomed, I think it's nearly 150 new members. I know it's well over 100. She has been a vibrant and essential part of our staff team, willing to jump in and fill in a gap when it occurs. And she and I have collaborated on so many projects together to create stronger connections in the congregation. I am happy for her that she is embarking on a new adventure in her life. And I am so happy that she will be returning to us as a new member of UUCUC after she has passed the most intense few months of her training here coming up. And I would like to offer her this gift on behalf of the staff and congregation, a handmade chalice made by a UU potter from Washington State, my former home for many years. Sherry, we will make sure to get this to you to light your way forward in the coming weeks and months and years. The board also voted on a declaration of appreciation for Sherry's work, and we will make sure that that is on our website and available through e-news. We have a special treat for you now. Last April for Earth Day, our choir did their very first online virtual choir performance from the old hymn For the Beauty of the Earth. And you have a chance to hear it again now with some video that I took in Carl Park looking up into the trees and sky. Please enjoy.
Skies.
We, as Unitarian Universalists, acknowledge that we are part of the sacred and interdependent web of life. Connections with each other, with the community around us, and with the wider world. And in that spirit, each Sunday we recognize and honor those connections. Thanks to your vision and generosity, this is a connection with each other, our new Associate Minister for Congregational Life, the Reverend Sally Fritchie, will be beginning with us on September 1st, this week. In the coming weeks, there'll be a number of ways to connect with her, including, put this on your calendar, next week after the service, during the fellowship time, will be an opportunity for her to get to know you and also for you to ask questions to her as well. In addition, the following Sunday on the 13th will be her first sermon with us, and this will be an introduction to who she is and her life and background and what she cares about. I don't know what she'll share, but I hope you join in to learn more about her. Also, the United Dream Team is working on developing your visions for the next 5 years for this congregation. And they would like you to go to their online survey and fill it out. This will help them identify the 5 most important goals, the places where there's a gap between where we would like to be in our visions that you voted on in May, June, and where we would like to be and where we are currently. You can find a link to that on our live stream too, or in your e-news from this week. And that reminds me, if you are listening today and you don't get our e-news and you'd like to sign up, there is a link further down, also on our live stream page. Each month, we share half of our Sunday offering with an organization that is in alignment with our values. This month, our shared offering is Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. We have a number of our members deeply involved with this locally, and this is a critically important national organization dedicated to stemming the tide of gun violence and suicide. Please give generously. You can give by text while we listen to Matt play Arrival of the Birds by Jason Swinsko. Each Sunday, we bring our individual joys and sorrows to our time together. And although in our Sunday services we don't have an opportunity for you to send in live joys and sorrows, people send in a couple of days in advance, and I have two to share this morning with you. One is from Jim and Sandy Hannum. Sandy and Jim Hannum welcome our newest grandson, Nicholas Wild Hannum, born on this past Wednesday. Nicholas, his mother, Melissa, and his father, our son, Jeff, are doing great. We had a 0 birthday party for Nicholas in lieu of actually visiting him, COVID restrictions, and baked and ate his birthday cake without even serving him a piece. Probably wouldn't have been interested anyway. And from Scott Rohde, condolences for longtime friends from my earliest days here who lost their son to leukemia early last week. And now we'll have a time of silence, meditation, reflection, and prayer, letting these words and whatever else we may be carrying in our hearts, holding them gently as we let the sound of our blessing song wash over us. You are also free to join in and sing. Many of you know that before I was in UU ministry, I was a field botanist doing rare plant surveys all over the West. This meant that my work was primarily outside work. Now, as a minister, I find reconnecting with the natural world a critical part of keeping my spirit whole and my mind sane. When I first got here, I thought I was in a landscape with nothing but corn and soybean fields. But over the last 3 years, I have learned just how wrong I was. We are blessed here in Illinois and in this area with not only city, county, and state parks, but also with a wonderful system of county forest preserves. This is pretty unique to Illinois. Today, one of our forest preserves will be giving the sermon. In Zen, we say that everything can teach the Dharma, teach us about the nature of things, including the trees and the sky and the earth itself. So I took my phone out to my new favorite place, the Sangamon River Forest Preserve, about a half-hour northwest of Champaign-Urbana, and I went for a walk. But not just for a walk. In Japan, there is a practice called forest bathing, Shinrin Yoku. I'd like to share a bit about this practice before we forest bathe together virtually from a book by Chin Lee on forest bathing. He says, I assume I don't actually know. The person who wrote this says, "This is not exercise or hiking or jogging. It is simply being in nature, connecting with it through our senses of sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch. Shinrin Yoku is like a bridge. By opening our senses, it bridges the gap between us and the natural world." The good news is that even a small amount of time in nature can have an impact on our health. A 2-hour forest bath will help you to unplug from technology and slow down. It will bring you into the present moment and de-stress and relax you. Numerous studies I've conducted have shown that Shinrin Yoku has real health benefits. And then they describe what you do. So you find a spot. You leave your phone and camera behind, which of course I did not in this case. And you walk aimlessly and slowly. And you just let your body be the guide. You listen to where it wants to take you. And wherever it is doesn't really matter because you're not getting anywhere. You're not going anywhere. You are savoring the sounds, smells, and sights of nature and letting the forest in. The key to unlocking the power of the forest is in the 5 senses. Let nature enter through your ears, eyes, nose, mouth, hands, and feet. Listen to the birds singing and the breeze rustling in the leaves of the trees. Taste the freshness of the air as you take deep breaths. Dip your fingers or toes in a stream. Lie on the ground. This is your 6th sense, a state of mind, of joy, of calm. Now you've connected with nature. You have crossed the bridge to happiness. Please enjoy this entry into forest bathing.
Well, right now I'm sitting on a little bench, and this is just a little ways down the path from the parking lot. Big, beautiful, wide paths, wonderful for socially, physically distanced walking together. But this is why I love this spot here, because right behind me is a huge, huge, huge old oak tree. And there are a number of these trees in this forest preserve, and I have no doubt that they are hundreds of years old. I would say the diameter of this tree is wider than I am tall. Let's just put it that way. And so even just for me, coming into the presence of a tree like this reminds me of deep time and persistence and strength and beauty. So sometimes I'll just sit on this bench for a few minutes, again, just a little stroll from the parking lot, and let this tree heal whatever I might be carrying around. And sometimes there are people here. Here's some people walking by with their dog. So, not too many people here. Hi. Hi, cutie. Sweet little dog. And so maybe we'll get up and we'll start strolling down the path after them. Most of the time I'm here by myself, or I might see just a few people. On the weekends there's a few more. So this is sort of sweet. There's these neat little signs, and here's one about how to walk silently. And have you ever tried to get closer to an animal and hear you coming, and they didn't hear you coming? So here's how to sneak through the trees. Pretty fun thing to try. I will not be silent this morning. We have people listening by radio, which won't be as satisfying this morning, but I want them to get a little narrated view of this experience if they're not able to witness it through the video. So one of the things that's special about this place is that there's a combination of prairie and forest and river. So, and what I normally do when I'm here, and I won't do this with you because I don't get very far when I do this, is I do what I call geeking out on the birds, the flowers, the butterflies, the trees. So I bring field guides and binoculars and a hand lens, and I figure out what things are. I'm still learning the flowers and other creatures, other beings of Illinois. So it's really fun, and it just puts me in a really great space. So here's another one of these wonderful oak trees. So wonderful, so beautiful. And their trail signs are these great big boulders, which is neat. But this is special because right here is the first place where it's really easy to get down to the river. Most of the people who come, I think, come with their kids to play in the river, or in the there's a little oxbow or a little tributary that kids like to play in. River's a lot lower than when I first started coming earlier this summer. It's probably just about as low as it gets. So I come down here. We're going to find a little spot to sit. I think we'll go this way. The Sangamon River is really special. It feels like, in some ways, a really kind of a wild river, even though it's also very calm. I love the reflections of the trees in the water. Here we go. Here's a nice little rock to sit on. I thought I might start by reading you some poetry. I meant to bring more, but then maybe the point is not so much to hear poetry about the forest, but to let the forest be poetry. But here's one that I think is very appropriate. I'm sure many of you know this poem. It's by Wendell Berry. It's actually in our hymnal. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world and am free. So for me, this poem, more than really any I know, any of the others I was thinking I would share with you today that I left at home in my printer, really does capture what it is for me to come here to this very particular place with a long history of indigenous peoples and white settlers displacing those people. Although the people who owned this particular piece of land, I think they loved it in a way. They used it, of course. They mined gravel from one area. They ran cattle. But they didn't use it quite as, I guess you might say, thoroughly as much of the land in central Illinois has been used. And so I think that's part of the reason that there's still something here that is almost primeval, even though it's surrounded by cornfields. So now we'll head back up the bank and keep walking through the forest. This is a beautiful view down the river. I love seeing kids here. As we know, there is a real thing in children called nature deficit disorder. It's happening more and more, where children are cut off from the natural world. And this worries me because the natural world actually sustains us, and we need people to love it fiercely, passionately, wholeheartedly. And I think that love starts with connections in childhood. I know that my mother took me to the woods a lot in Terre Haute. I'm walking along the side of the river here. And then I became one of those kids. You know how your mom or dad says to you, what do you want to do for your birthday? And I always said, I want to spend it outside in a state park. So we went to various state parks near Terre Haute for each birthday, which was in April. So it was nice enough weather, and we'd celebrate outside. Here's a beautiful view of the river with the Coreopsis in front of it. And so when I see children playing in the water, or walking the trails, or looking at the butterflies with their parents, it makes me so happy, because I do feel that that's where it needs to begin. Although I think we can also learn this love later in life, if for some reason we grew up in a way where we were cut off from that. But it's a sweet view down the trail of a mom with her two kids holding hands. Oh, this is another one of my favorite trees here. Look at that. See those young lives and this great old life here. This tree looks a little less healthy than the others, but it's hanging in there. It's been around a long time, this old lady. Look at that trunk. Huge, huge trunk. I have a feeling this might be giant. Well, I won't say. Really, like I said, normally I'd be out here with my flora, but this is not really a nature interpretive walk. It's more a spirit walk. So I'll try to put that side of my mind down and just again rest in the forest, in the river, on the prairie. Maybe you've heard of something called forest bathing. This, I don't know the whole history of it, but I know that it has become very, very popular in Japan, at most urban of countries, to go out into the forest and just quietly let the dappled light and the wind and the birdsong wash away our stresses and strains. So this is a form of forest bathing. And it makes so much sense to me that that would become so strong in Japan because of their Shinto traditions, which recognize the sacredness and power of the natural world. And when I spent time in a Shinto shrine in Japan for several weeks, a number of years ago, one of the things I learned is that just like this is a forest preserve, preserving some great old trees, the shrines of Japan do as well. There's actually a rule in the shrine that nothing can be cut. No trees can be cut down unless there's some kind of major safety issue, and even then I think it's kind of a big deal. So they don't cut down the trees, and that means that since some of the shrines are 2,000 years old, the trees get to live and die on their own timeline rather than on ours. So maybe our forest preserves here, which not every place has forest preserves. I think it's a wonderful idea. Seems like it's kind of an Illinois thing. Maybe the forest preserves are one of the ways that we here can come to a shrine, our own kind of shrine, our own kind of sacred place. Although it's not just for us, of course, it's also for the creatures and plants that are here. Actually, last time I was here, I was doing my geeking out thing, and I just happened to notice a white gentian blooming, and I took photographs of it. Actually didn't have my flora with me, but I took photographs of it and went home and looked it up and realized that it's actually a rare plant in Illinois here. So that means that this preserve, you think about the landscape that surrounds this, we're kind of between Mahomet and Fisher. It's really all cornfields, former prairie, except for this thin strip along the river. And so places like this are true refuges for animals and plants and insects as well as us. We're going to take a little break here, and I'm going to stop the video and then start it up again when we come back around to the prairie. So then there's the prairie. Even though this was about forest bathing, there's prairie bathing as well, and it's important to know that every place in the world has a kind of landscape it speaks, a kind of ecosystem that it speaks. And here in central Illinois, what the land speaks is grasses and flowers and prairie with just narrow bands of trees along the rivers. So pretty much anywhere you see a cornfield or a soybean field, that was once prairie, almost certainly, because that's where the best soils are, the deepest soils, made of thousands and thousands of years of the plants growing and churning into soil each winter as the bugs work them and decompose them. So one of the things that I love about the prairie is the great sky above. And the other thing I love about the prairie is the way that literally every week, there are different flowers in bloom. So really, there aren't 4 seasons to the prairie. There are many, many seasons. So this is the season of the sunflower family in the prairie. All this yellow. And along with the sunflower family comes so many butterflies and goldfinches. And just as to end our time of forest bathing, prairie bathing, I'm going to walk you up to this beautiful stand, huge 8-foot tall stand of cut flower. I'm going to get us right inside. We're going to wait for a little wind and listen to the sounds of the leaves. That's one of the sounds of the prairies. One of the sacred sounds of the shrine of the prairies. And this prairie, like almost all the prairies where we live, was once a pasture or a cornfield. And with enormous human effort, it was turned back to what it originally spoke. And that too is sacred. The work of restoration ecology is the work of healing. So when our spirits need healing, we can come to a place where, instead of destroying, human beings have healed the trouble they've caused and brought the natural patterns and beauty back to the land. And with this, I'll leave you with blessings and wishes for a renewing Sunday.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that, at least as much as I enjoyed creating it for you. A couple of things I want to mention here. One is that we are hoping to have a physically distanced walk at this very forest preserve next Sunday. In the evening, look for something in the e-news about that. I think we're talking about 6 p.m. Andy Robinson and I are planning to lead that. And also, Andrew Cairns, a member of the congregation and a board member of the Champaign County Forest District, wants you to know that there will be an item on the fall ballot about increasing support for our forest preserves. I didn't know that before I planned this service. So keep an eye out for that if these places are as important to you as they are to me. And please take care of yourself in the coming week. If you can, find a way to be among trees and let them heal your spirit. Please join me for the words of our chalice extinguishing if you know them. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our postlude is a beautiful piece of piano music by John Schmidt called Waterfall. Many blessings.